right, guys, I am back and we're going to start on the giveaway journal for Kim. And I probably won't film all of it just so that she has some secret things that only she will know are in the journal. I kind of try to do that when I do a giveaway journal. Just, you know, it just makes it a little more personal. So Christian and I went shopping for a little bit last weekend and then this last night, which was Friday night, because I could not find chipboard. And normally I buy it in like a big section out of Hobby Lobby. And yeah, so I couldn't find it. It was like MIA. I have no idea like if there's just like a shortage of chipboard or what. But yeah, so this one we finally found at Michael's last night. And it's in 12 by 12 sections. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this sticker off. Seems like it wants to stick. But anyways, yeah, so Kim decided that she wanted kind of a shabby chic one and in purples and pinks. So that's the SKU number if you're curious. Like I said, I got it at Michael's and it's marketed under the Recollections brand there. So anyways, let's get started. So I am making it 9 by 6. So we'll need to like kind of mark out where we're going with it, so to speak. And then my big cutter does cut it, but I prefer to kind of give myself a few like cutting marks to make sure it's kind of like lined up. So we'll probably do that. So I'm going to cut it in 6 first. Because, you know, like I said, with these little marks, I like to do that because, you know, no matter how perfect the cutter, sometimes it's not quite even. And so since it's a 12 by 12, if I do, sorry, I was just making sure I can see those later. And you probably got a big old look at my roots there. So this is the big cutter that I've talked about before. It is a Fiskars. My son actually got it for me a couple years ago, and I haven't actually been using it all that often. As you can tell, it's kind of dusty, but when I'm doing big things like this, I do like to use it. Because like I said, it does do a pretty good job with lining up and stuff. And like this one's a lot like the other cutters too. You're never quite sure exactly where it is in the scheme of things. And oops, all right, hold on, we're gonna have to go up, I guess, which makes sense, I guess, a little bit. I do have to hold it quite a bit because I'm not quite strong enough to make it go. Hopefully I didn't jostle you too much. And then I'm going to check here. Yeah, see, it's off by like 1/4 of an inch. So I'll end up having to take that off just a little bit to make sure we're like right in the right area. But you know what? I think I might do for a second. I might just go ahead and line them back up and kind of do a little line here. That way. I'm taking off quite, you know, just the right amount, right? That just needs a little tiny bit. Nope. Did you find it?
Yeah.
And then Christian bought this for me last night at Hobby Lobby. Isn't he cute? So I have a little gnome sitting on my desk. And then I have Gracie's little gnome that she got me last year. So yeah, I got me some cute little gnomes for my desk. And actually, since the cutter part is up this side, I'll go ahead and line it up here at the bottom. So yeah, taking out the sliver sometimes isn't the easiest, but worth it in the end, right? Okay. So we should be pretty darn close. Yes, we are. Maybe just a little bit off, but okay. So it's 6 wide, 9 inches tall, and it's easier, like, since that folds up, it is actually, since we're going the other direction and it's thicker, gives us more room here. Anyways, and actually probably the wiser course of action is probably to cut your 9 inches and then your 6 inches. Having looked back on that now. Anyways, the 6-inch mark is always just a little bit difficult to find on these cutters. So it's not you. It is totally, see, it does get a little hard to do. But so there's a front and a back cover. And while I'm already here, I'm gonna cut a few more. I'm not going to worry about that sticker for just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and try it this way too, at the 9-inch mark, so that we have just a few covers cut. Because I'm not sure, since this isn't, oh, goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Oh, goodness. That was a little rough. What I was saying is, since we don't have exactly, or I might double it up. And and the 6-inch mark on these, since it's like the splits right here, it doesn't like to line up real well. What's that? Oh, thanks, sweetheart. Mm-hmm. And I will end up, I think, having to cut a little bit off that other edge. Gosh darn it. It does take quite a bit of oomph to get that cut, but, and again, I think I'll have to cut off the, oh, nope, I don't. Look at that. It's just about perfect. Okay. All right. So, and then I'm going to go ahead, how wide is this? It's 3 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut it down at 9, and that'll be our spine for this journal. So yeah, I guess that's my suggestion, is to cut it, and I'm not going to be able to do it that way. All right. Don't have quite the strength to do it like that anymore. All right. Whew. Hopefully I didn't jostle you guys too much, but yeah, so this thicker stuff, like I said, I do like to use that cutter because it is more accurate than using like an X-Acto knife and a ruler. Gives you a little bit straighter. But so here, it's 2 covers and a spine, and taking it off at the 9-inch will definitely make you have less scraps, so to speak. All right, so let's start building this. So what I like to do is I like to start lining it up, and I always leave just a little bit of room between here for like the movement of stuff. And you know, I meant to look for my fabric pieces, because I don't use Tyvek, mostly because I don't have it. And a lot of times, see, this is a little bit, it's been a minute, so I apologize if it's not going very fast. I gotta think through this a little bit. It's been a while since I've built one like this. I think I'm gonna do something just a tad different than I've done before. So, okay. Sorry, I'm a thinking girl here. So I think I want to cover these first before I put any fabrics on it. So the paper pad we're going to be using for this is the Prima Lavender. I don't actually, I think by the tag here, I think I got it a couple of years ago from Hobby Lobby. Okay. And I can't really decide whether I want busy on it to begin with, and then we tone it down by something else, or do we want it... I don't have that much left of this kit, per se. That's very busy, isn't it? But if we use these, I have 4, so I can do a little bit of playing around with it. Okay, let's go ahead and use these. So I'm going to use the back side since it's double-sided. Okay. Try 3 for now. All right. Hopefully that's not too loud for you in the background. All right, so next, so it's 9 by 6. So we want to go a little bit, I try to go like at least an inch bigger on all the pieces. And so let's get out this cutter. And we know that we want at least 10 inches. So maybe we'll go 10 and a half. And then we'll kind of go from there. And that's a little bit of a hair there. Okay, so I'm going to cut them all at 10 and a half. And really, it's going to be, like, everybody does their covers just a tad different. I guess what it boils down to is however you're going to do it, just make sure that you're, whatever you're using on the spine area gives you the maximum amount of strength, I guess. Okay, so we want... thinking here. Sorry, guys. I think what I want to do now, and I'll cut off the other ends later. I'm going to kind of lay this out. And so we're going to have a combination of paper and fabric to cover these. I'm going to lay that out like so. Get it as close as I can. I'm going to take the spine, and since it's 3 inches, let's see, let's do, move this out just a tiny bit to the 1/2 inch mark here. And this is where one of these mats comes in handy with the measurements, right? So I'm going to butt this up right here. As close as we can get, right? Like so. And get my Fabri-Tac out here. So basically what I'm doing is I'm lining this up at a 1/2 inch mark here, but it's 3 inches from like this mark to this mark, right? And we got it just about as lined up as we can make it on this board. Now I'm going to take my 3-inch spine. And I'm getting it all glued up. And the reason I'm using Fabri-Tac is so that I have room to move, you know, if something goes a kilter, right? We have a minute or two before we have to be gluing down, right? Okay. And now, like so, right? Okay. And I'm trying to use the lines and kind of just more or less guesstimate where I'm at. Okay, and I'm gonna take this, and I'm not worried about like excess glue on this side, right? Okay. Now, these are the two that yeah, it must have been these two. Okay, so now I'm going to take these two and try my best to just put, and I think what I'm remembering back here, what I used to do is take this, and so that I have a little bit of a gap there, right? Yeah, that, actually, no, that's not what I used to take. Is this one. Just a tiny bit wider. In here, maybe. Yep, that's about right. So I use this ruler. Okay, so then we're gonna put glue on it. On this side here. It's okay. I think they understand. Christian's in the kitchen doing some dishes, so yeah. I don't know, for some reason he seems to like to clean. I don't know if he likes cleaning, but he definitely likes spoiling me, so I think it might be synonymous, right? Okay. There we go. And that would be my biggest suggestion if you're doing this is you use a glue that's not, I mean, it's quick setting, but it's not so quick setting that you don't have time to adjust where you're going with it, okay? Okay. And at this point, we're not worried about glue marks, right? We're worried about getting it down and getting it as straight as we can get it, right? Kilter on that, so that's making it kind of look a little funky. Okay. Yeah, looking good, looking good. Okay, so I'm gonna let that set for a second, and I'm gonna take my ruler. It's probably going to be a little bit wider than I needed, but I'm just going to take this and my X-Acto knife and just kind of go that. And hopefully that cut all the way through. I didn't put very much pressure on it, so we'll see. this over, do the same over here. Oh, I got a little glue on my ruler here. Actually, I'm just gonna spin it. Okay. I'm gonna get the ruler in there. Gosh darn it. So I usually go against the metal piece, but oh, this one doesn't have a metal piece. How crazy is that, huh? There we go. Okay. All right. Yep, okay, so and see that's pretty even through there, right? And then we'll put our fabrics and yeah. I like that. It's going good. Okay, now what I do is I like to bring my little bone folder up. Like so, kind of. Put in a little crease on each side. And sometimes the bone folder works beautifully, sometimes not so much. I don't know why I'm not overly talkative. Anyways, I think because I'm so focused on this, I've been pretty excited to get started on this for a while. So pretty much ever since I decided kind of where we were going with it. Okay, now before we glue any of this down, this is like our last chance to move anything if we need to move it, right? Like, ultimately, I think it probably would have, yeah, it's down good. So never mind. Okay, so now since I have kind of these corners, I kind of do go up and pinch just a little bit, just so I can kind of see where it's at. Helps me cut, so I'm not cutting so much of it off, like in a bad way. And another thing I learned is if you take this ruler, you kind of set it in the corner like this, right? Because you can kind of tell. Let me see if I can get the video or the, oh, and I switched out my ink pad, so. You can kind of highlight that area, right? Right there. And then right here. So I'm going to try to just stick this in here. There's got to be a scientific way of doing this, but I've never found it. Some people can miter corners like really well. I don't happen to be one of them. I'm trying to get it to where you can see it too. Okay. Odd angles, aren't they? So, but by using the thicker ruler there, you're giving yourself, giving yourself just a little bit more leeway right here on the corners. Sorry, and I bet you're not seeing that completely, but that one wasn't as much, but that's okay. And since these are all bent up, I wouldn't normally throw that stuff away, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw them away because they're all kind of bent up and chewed up, so. All right, let's put these away. If you guys didn't notice, I did, between projects, I did do a little bit of cleaning. Okay, so then I go ahead and take my bone folder, and before we even start gluing, I'm gonna kind of burnish that down. Really go in that edges, really kind of make sure it's down well, so that when I glue it, it'll be less strain on the paper. So hopefully the goal is less cracking. But I don't usually have cracking issues with Prima, so see, and that's I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but there's a little bit of gap right there. So that's kind of what I tried to avoid, but I'm not always great at that. So, I mean, it's not that big of a deal because we're covering it anyways, but I do try to have some semblance of not having gaps. Maybe someday I'll master the art of mitering the corners. But it appears that this journal isn't one of them either. Yeah, see, there's just a tiny little bit of gap right there, which once we get the paper all rolled up in there, you probably won't see a ton of that, but now we're down to gluing, and we will end up having to call, once we get these going, we'll end up having to call this a video because we're right at 30 minutes, and I'm trying really hard to stick to that 30 minutes because if not, it takes so long to load these videos, and it's just really time that I don't have. Yeah, I think last week, just to load those 3 videos, it took like 12 hours. It's getting kind of ridiculous again. So I just sit here and I burnish and I burnish and I burnish these down just to make sure that glue really sticks down in there. I kind of want to get pretty far in this journal today. That way tonight after church, Christian and I can record some videos. And if not tonight, then like kind of first thing in the morning tomorrow. Because him and I both really enjoy doing that. We like crafting together. Or I don't know if he likes crafting, but I know he likes hanging with me, so. And gluing fabric on is very similar. So if you're trying this technique with fabric, like a fabric cover, very, 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 very similar. Only I don't think you have to work as hard with paper, or I'm sorry, with fabric as you do with paper, so that you're not cracking the edges here. The slower you can go with a good paper, the better. And don't force it. And that's another thing, like we'll work the spine right here. We'll take extra time to work it. That way it doesn't crack. And remember, we don't fold our journal up until all the pieces are dry. That'll make all the difference in the world, especially when it comes to like warping and like pulling. We'll do all of the other stuff first and let it dry really well before we start manipulating it into a folding position. It's hard because we want to move fast, right? But that's what I've learned over the course of the last 4 years is you just don't force the spine. You wait till it's good and dry, especially with paper. Fabric, it's not as bad, but paper, definitely, you let it dry or else you get the weird warping and the weird pulling. You know, it's so weird around here. Spring is always, you know, just because it says it's spring on the calendar doesn't mean winter's giving up the ghost, right? So like this morning we woke up with snow on the ground. So done with snow. All right, so there is that part of it. Let's see, what more can we do on, I don't think we're gonna be able to do much more. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut 6x9 pieces here because it doesn't work real well to do, oh man, we'll just, do I have, I'm gonna cut 3. Do I have another one of that? Or do we want to change the inside? That's kind of pretty, huh? Let's see how that goes. That's the blessing and the curse of double-sided paper, isn't it? Wow, it does blend pretty good, doesn't it? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it and set this aside for a second. And we're gonna cut it at 9, just under 9, and just under 6. And when I mean just under, I mean just a hair under 9. And then we'll go just a hair under 6. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, one thing I am going to do before I start, like before I glue that down. I'm going to go ahead and ink up 3 of these edges, just in case it doesn't go all the way. Because I'll ink the outside of that other one as well on the next video, probably. Everything just inks so nicely when you have a new ink pad, huh? Like a sponge. Now you do have to kind of go gentle on the edges of those glue, right? You don't want it totally seeping out. I go about 1/4 of an inch to the edge there. Because then once we start smushing it out, right? Like then we'll have to wipe it out if we get any on there. And again, I'm using a wet glue. So I have just a few seconds to kind of move it in case it's not quite where I want it, right? Okay. Well, that went oddly well. All right. Again, I'm not going to worry about this because the fabric will take care of this on the inside. Oh, we almost bent it. And then here is the outside of the cover starting. All right, so in the next video, we'll cover the rest of the spine and we'll get some fabric going to reinforce all of this. And then we'll ink around the edges and we'll get the corner and then we'll decide on the closure. So yeah, I'm super excited about this one. All right, guys, I will just see you in the next video. Bye.